Good night. My name is Rebecca Perez Sanchez, and I'm a student in Tech Milenio University. I'm right now coursing in high school and my last year. Very excited. And right now and today, I'm going to present you my evidence 3 on the subject contemporary world. Now, in this evidence, we're going to see more than nothing really important terms that right now are marking our world, and also some important events that has happened in the last few decades. So let's continue. The important events on the last decades. Now this list goes from 1990 to 2015, and the ones that personally results most, it's in 1991 the collapse of the Soviet Union, in 1992 the official end of the Cold War, and then we entered to a unipolar world. In 1993 the World Trade Center was bombed and the first smartphone was released. In 1997 Princess Diana dies in car crash. In 1998, India and Pakistan test nuclear weapons. In 2001, a devastating terrorist attack leaves 3,000 dead in America. In 2002, the deadliest act of terrorism in the history of Indonesia. Now, going back to 2001 in the terrorist attack, this is a really memorable day, because a lot of people think that from that year and beyond, everything got worse according to terrorism, and in a part, I guess that's true. But I mean, terrorism has been since the beginning of times, but I think they're trying to say more than nothing that now with all the technology and with all the nations getting together to have peace in the world, well, we're not getting closer to international peace. In 2002, the deadliest act of terrorism in the history of Indonesia. In 2003, the invasion of Iraq. In 2014, Iguala mass kidnapping. And in 2015, another terrorist attack in Paris, France. This was this year and actually this month. Now you can see here these are of course not all the events that happened on those years, but those are the most relevant, to my opinion, of these years. Now going to the next point, we're going to describe the following terms. Now the terms are the next ones. They are globalization, terrorism, unipolar world, and digital era. Globalization, what really means is develop or be developed so as to make possible international influence or operation. And this can be, for an example, the process by which business or organizations develop international influence or start operating on an international scale. So, more than nothing, this has to make more sense in economics, as I read in other places. And let me tell you some pros and some cons with globalization. The pros can be the supporters of globalization argue that it has the potential to make this world a better place to live in and solve some of the deep-seated problems like unemployment and poverty. The cons can be the general complaint about globalization is that it has made the richer richer while making the non-rich poorer. It is wonderful for managers, owners, and investors, but hell on workers and nature. Sorry for that last word. And now let me use globalization and a sentence with object. Communication globalized capital markets. With no object, building facilities overseas is part of the strategy of every company that aims to globalize. Now, repeating again, globalization is to develop or be developed as to make possible international influence or operation. For an example, technology right now is about this era, about this globalization era, because it has been developed and it has made possible to international influence. So it affects not technology only in the country or only in the place it was created and developed, but international worldwide has been influence. Second term, terrorism, is the use of violence and intimidation in the pursuit of political aims. The unofficial or unauthorized use of violence and intimidation in the pursuit of political aims. The fight against terrorism, international terrorism. Now, terrorism comes from the French word terrorism, and originally refers especially to state terrorism as practiced by the French government during the 1793 and 1794 in the Reign of Terror. Now, reminding the Reign of Terror happened after the French Revolution is a consequences of it, and that's where this new word is created. And repeating again, terrorism is the use of violence and intimidation in the pursuit of political aims. Now, this is just like you will say, gaining power with the power of your hands. That's not good, and it's the use of violence to get something you want, actually. Now, the unipolar world. Now, this is a really easy concept. The unipolar world has one dominating state that holds a significant amount of power economically, military, and political. Now we can all imagine with this term, with this definition, which state, which country is, of course. Everybody states that it is USA, and this is true because unipolar world we enter it after the Cold War was done. And before that, during the Cold War, we were not a unipolar, but a bipolar world, because all the world was controlled in the RSS, in the URSS, and USA. But with the end of Cold War, everything changed and turned to a unipolar world. Now, the digital era. The digital era is the information age, also known as the computer age, digital age, or new media age. It's a period in human history characterized by the shift from traditional industry that the Industrial Revolution brought, through industrialization to an economic based on information computation. The onset of the information age is associated with the digital revolution, just as the industrial revolution marked the onset of the industrial age. This is really easy. It's when all the technologies just grow and grow and still growing, so we're still in that era. I will repeat, it's a period of time, and so in this period of course all things happens, and the most important of them is that technology was expanded. So now we have the internet, we have computers, we have smartphones, and year past year they are getting better, they are getting bigger, they are getting more to do more things. I mean, in the beginning you will only talk with a person by your cell phone. Now you can take pictures, now you can message, now you can still call that person, you can play a game in it. I mean, it's now the telephone, it's a mini computer, and in some years it might be maybe a mini human. Who knows? Now let's think deeply about each concept and then answer the following questions. So we already did the first part. We have already think deeply about each concept. Let's check the questions. First questions. Why did the globalization emerge? Now, behind the globalization, found in public as well as academic debate, lie three broad accounts of the nature and meaning of globalization today, referred to as the hyperglobalist, the spectacle, and the transformational views. So basically, it's really easy to understand why the globalization emerged. This is because people wanted more power, want more money, and it's more than nothing a really more economic way to say it. You can find this word used more in economics because it's where everything changed, where again they want to make a influence international worldwide. And let me keep talking about the last three meanings that I say: hyperglobalist, the spectacle, and the transformationalist views. Hyperglobalists argue that we live in an increasingly global world in which states are being subject to massive economic and political process of change. These are eroding and fragmenting nation-states and dismantling the power of politicians. In these circumstances, states are increasingly the decision takers and not the decision makers. The skeptics strongly resist the view and believe that contemporary global circumstances are not unprecedented, and the transformationalists argue that globalization is creating new economic, political, and social circumstances, which, however, eventually are serving to transform states' power and the context in which states operate. So in small words, in smaller phrase, you can say that all this have the same to say that is everything's evolutioning and getting bigger and finding new ways to just control more what is economic, political, and social circumstances. Next question. In most cases, what causes the terrorist attacks on the 20th century? Now, this is really easy, actually. In one sentence, I'm going to say it. Discrimination and different points of view in religion's belief. Of course, you cannot make all the world happy. You cannot make all the world believe in what you believe. Now, this is discrimination because you are offending others and want to you want to force them actually to believe in what you believe, or sometimes it's just discrimination. That happens all the time. It's a subject that it's now been debated actually. Discrimination and terrorism, what happens, and normally always happens like that. There's a really highlight in the last terrorism attack in Paris, France, where a young man who was a terrorist says before shooting, "Long life to his God." I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of his God, but after saying that, he shoot to people who were innocent, and maybe they didn't have the same beliefs, and a lot say that was the reason why the terrorist attack. And terrorist attack of actually the New York City in the Twins building is actually still unknown. There are a lot of theories about that attack. Next question. How does the end of the Cold War relate with the unipolar world? As I said back, with the end of Cold War, we enter the unipolar world, in where we are all around this country, this state, in which in this case is United States. And what happens to United States, it happens all around the world. If United States has a good economic base, today, for example, today he has a good economic, all around the world has it. And tomorrow the back goes down, the stocks go down, and all the world will be affected. And the United States has more than nothing good economics, good political, and good military. Now, with those three things, you rule the world. And it happens in the end of Cold War, because before that, during the Cold War, it was not a unipolar world, but it was a bipolar world. And with bi, I mean of two states, two nations, two countries that had those three things: economic, political, and military resources, and really big ones, the biggest in all the world. And that was the Soviet Union. Now, with the URSS and United States were the bipolar world during the Cold War, ending that, the Soviet Union just came down, separates, created their nations. United States was the nation that stayed strong, stayed forth, and that is how we entered to the unipolar world. How has the digital era influenced today's society? Now, of course, we all know how it has influence right now. Now, everybody has been living in the digital era where there's internet and their cell phones and their emails and their Facebook and Twitter and etc. etc. Now, but how really influence, like, we're talking about it has influence for good, for bad. Is it true that technology is bad? I mean, I think the people who say that is actually the oldest ones that say, in my time there was no internet and everybody was happy. And actually, with internet, that doesn't mean you're not happy, or because you don't have internet you're not happy, and if you have it then you're not happy. I mean, everybody finds his happiness in different ways. Now, let me tell you a law that I found in very nice. Now, this is the Crunchberg's first law. He argues that technology is neither good or bad, nor is it neutral. It's irresponsible to assume that the tools being built just wander out into the world with any positive effects. Technology doesn't turn practice, but how systems is designed in this matters. How systems are used also matters. If those users ain't one designers intended. For example, as social media has gone mainstream, some fascinations have emerged to require reflection. Yet, even as the conversation becomes more important to have, it's often hard to talk in nuanced way about the role that technology is playing in shifts that are already underway. Speaking that technology is not bad or it's good, it's actually how the user use it, and that's the way it has influenced today's society. It just gave an opportunity to communicate, or another tool. I think it's that. But the digital era came with tools, came a new revolution in industrial revolution, and it's how the people use it that influence that society, and specifically. If a family who is a nuclear society, your first social relationships, if your family shows you how to use in a good way the internet and the television, or talking with a friend by the cell phone, then you are influenced in a good way. But if you're in your family, you do anything you want about the internet. First of all, you're stealing the neighbor's internet. Second of all, nobody's watching what you're doing. Maybe you're practicing being a hacker. Maybe you're watching things that you not need to watch in television. And that's how it influenced today's society. It just gave them another tool. And sometimes we say that it's unfortunate, this tool, because we give it to people that are still not mature for it. But I mean, that's in everybody's decision already. And if they are really mature, so you have parents, you have friends who, because they love you, they need to teach you how to use it. Now, thank you very much. I really enjoyed this last evidence. Really happy because the semester is ending, and really nervous because finals are coming. Now, these are the links where I found all this information. It's very important to say that the definitions that I use for globalization, terrorism, unipolar world, digital era were found on the Oxford Dictionary. So that's a really, really good source to find the meaning of words. Really recommend you. And the others are also really good. Now, thank you very much and have a good day. Bye. See you later.